Hello everyone. So I felt for some reason guided to hop on and connect. I feel like just for a lot of obvious reasons, there's a lot of really big spiraling energies in the collective, a lot of really big, obviously forces of change, a lot of really big is the only word, energies moving through, which can feel very like destabilizing, disorienting. And so my kind of intention for this video is to kind of tap into some sources of love and comfort and peace as we navigate these next few weeks, to just kind of stay in center, stay on purpose, stay acting, being in love towards ourselves, towards our communities, our families, and also towards just the broader world and people that we kind of struggle to see as also embodying love. So I'm going to start shuffling the tarot here. So Spirit, what are, I'm kind of struggling to figure out how to even, what to ask, because it's one of those times where it feels like every area is uncertain. So what messages, if love were to speak to us through us right now, what would we know? Okay. This is very, very on time. Okay. So first we have these minor arcana cards. We have the Nine of Swords, and then also, is this the 9? We have the Nine of Wands and the Nine of Swords, which, as you can see, these people are kind of at the end of the journey before they reach the 10, which is kind of like the pinnacle, the end point. We're kind of in this place where we're kind of like pushing something, and the end is in sight. It's kind of that like light at the end of the tunnel feeling, but it's not quite finished. And so these kind of like anxious thoughts, the what ifs, the worries, the kind of analyzing every possible way this could pan out, whether it's a pretty obvious event in the collective or just like a personal thing, or both, kind of. So Spirit kind of love is talking about how there's a lot of understanding right now for being in pain, specifically experiencing a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of pain, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of feeling wounded, a lot of feeling like love is gone, a lot of feeling abandoned by love, like there's just kind of this kind of desolate landscape. So maybe that's for some of us that we're feeling kind of like dejected, rejected, kind of like abandoned in some capacity. Kind of like this person like physically just like battered, having just gone through a lot. And the tarot reader, Lindsay Mack of Tarot for the Wild Soul, talks a lot about how this card, kind of like the nightmare card, doesn't specifically speak to like bad things happening, but to just bringing awareness to the capacity of the mind to kind of spin, to latch on to some small detail that we don't have clarity on, or just kind of spiraling in this way. And then this is really interesting to me. 3 of the other 4 cards that fell out are all figures who are seated. This is really interesting to me. This is kind of speaking to me about the importance of maintaining energetic sovereignty. I don't really know what that is, but maybe being... Okay, so when the mind is kind of weaving stories about catastrophe, and there's a lot of evidence in the physical world to suggest, yeah, we're really not in a great space in terms of embodying love, in terms of, and I got a message this morning about how a lot of the kind of ill acting, a lot of the warring in the world is due to a lack of love within kind of children, the children within us, the children of the world, in the ways that we were not born into love. And so kind of on more of a widespread esoteric spiritual level, the need in the coming generations to kind of return love to children, and so that when they become adults, acting in some of these abhorrent ways are no longer possibilities, if that makes sense. And so the mind is kind of weaving a lot at this time, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that things are hard. In the presence of these figures, we have the Emperor in the reverse position, as well as the King of Pentacles in the reverse position, and then the Queen of Pentacles in the upright position. And all of these people, as you can see, are seated kind of in their domain, in their kingdom. And the message that I'm getting is, it's kind of obvious, but it's also really true that our sphere of influence is vast in terms of our kind of energetic capacity to emit love, to emit care, to kind of stand as pillars of strength in our community. But kind of spinning out and catastrophizing and kind of turning to media outlets or conversations with people, this kind of shared commiseration in terms of catastrophizing and creating drama around possible outcomes and all of the possible ways things could go wrong. The alternative is to realize that our when we kind of fully occupy and act from kind of like this deeply seated, and I'm just noticing there's a lot of red in the background too with the candles and the plants. And so like that kind of sacral, and then the root, like the basic, turning to the basics of, again, I was listening to a message from Lindsay Mack, who was talking about the Wheel of Fortune supporting us in terms of the only task really is to chop wood, carry water. And she was kind of talking about how when a lot is uncertain and we kind of spin out before we have all of the answers or the news comes in yet about something, really the most simple things can be the most powerful, like tending to a friend, really being in a conversation when it's happening, cleaning a room in the house, like being like what we practically have control over, and how standing in our individual authorities and not giving so much power over to fear, into feeding into this kind of like collective monster at the end of the bed, this fear. And sometimes I'm getting a message too that movements that are founded on fear are bound to fall, which is kind of that kind of like age-old light versus dark thing, that we can trust that there's an element here where I'm really drawn to this card right now, the Strength card, and how this kind of like mythical wild animal, the narrative about taming this thing that is so dangerous, this figure is kind of approaching it with this peace, this being on the same level, this coming down and saying, hey, let me talk to you, kind of. So there's this like very strong, grounded, but also peaceful energy coming through, and movements in people and causes that are moving from more of this energy right here, strength, versus spinning and feeding into these like collective fears and lies, honestly. Not in like a predictive way, but I think we can, I'll end it there. So I think the message that I want to leave you with today, we'll leave it really short and sweet, is and I want to remember the Emperor and the King of Pentacles were both in the reverse position, and the only upright was the Queen of Wands. And this person, this being, really tends to her own space. She is focused on what she's building, and she's also focusing on what she's sustaining by being devoted to something. And so in the coming days and weeks, maybe we can ask ourselves what we're devoting ourselves to, and if the things that we are devoting ourselves to are causing sleeplessness and fear and anxiety, or trust that we're on the path, we're moving through something, and there's like an inner forging, an inner alchemy process that's going on right now. And so sending lots of love as you navigate the following days and weeks. And as always, take care.